Hi, my name is Matthew Mercer. I'm a voice actor and the Dungeon Master for Geek and Sundry's Critical Role, and welcome to my short video series for my tips on how to Dungeon Master or Game Master your own role-playing games. So today, our first topic is going to be encounter building. So when you're creating an encounter, a combat encounter specifically for your party of adventurers or, Space Marines or whatever else you're running, you want to consider what kind of terrain or region is this going to have. That's going to go ahead and help you guide what creatures are going to be there, what type of challenges might be in that wake. So consider, is it an icy tundra? Is it like a frozen mountaintop? Or is it like a hot, muggy swampland? Is it an underground cave network? They're actually in a lot of these resource books that you find for these RPGs, they'll have listings of creatures and monsters and dangers by topography and by weather, and that's a really cool way to kind of see what indigenous creatures might live there. And that's a good resource to pull from if you're not having any real creative juices, helping you decide on what to put in front of them. Secondly, you want to consider how challenging you want the encounter or encounters to be. Do you want it to be a really quick scuffle? Do you want it to be a series of small battles as you're like fighting down a long hallway in a spaceship? Do you want it to be just one giant climactic, multi-leveled boss confrontation? Once you've made that decision, that'll help you figure out how dangerous, how extensive, and how powerful the villains may be for this encounter. And there's a lot of great resource manuals for every RPG system out there that have breakdowns about what creatures are good for which player levels as far as power and challenge and danger is concerned. Like for instance, the Dungeon Master Guide and the Monster Manual have the challenge rating system. A creature of a certain challenge rating is a decent challenge for a group of 4 players of that level, and you can slide the scale from there. Also, the DMG, or the Dungeon Master Guide, has kind of an experience threshold table in there as well that helps you build encounters just based on the total experience points of the creatures they're fighting. So those are really cool resources if you're new to the system and you're trying to still figure out how to balance that properly. And over time, eventually you'll just get a feel for it. Experience helps you get a little more comfortable with balancing the battle, and you want to make sure you don't kill all your players way too quickly in the game either. There's also a really good website called Cobalt Fight Club for those who are running Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaigns that helps them build an entire encounter with the experience tables and stuff that helps you get an idea as what could and cannot be considered too powerful. And don't forget, if you can't find a creature or a monster in these realms or any sort of villain that really suits your needs for the storyline or this particular battle, you can create one. Make one up, or take something that's there and customize it, alter it. Make it more powerful, make it weaker, If you really want to run a game that has a bunch of kobolds as the main villain, but all your players are level 10, go ahead and make yourself some more powerful kobolds. You can customize them all you want. Everything in there is just a baseline suggestion of what they think or they created it initially to be, but you can always scale them. You can make them more powerful. You can add additional hit points, make them do more damage per attack, increase some defenses, give it some hidden resistances or vulnerabilities. You can even create whole new abilities. I customize creatures all the time for my game. I think it, one, makes it more interesting and more customized to the specific encounter and world. Secondly, for players who've been playing for a long time and have pretty much memorized the monster manual, it keeps them on their toes because they'll be encountering monsters that they have yet to memorize everything about. Also make sure though, if you do use these creatures and you want them to have interesting defenses and vulnerabilities and the like, make sure you highlight them or note them. It's very easy in the rush of combat to forget some of these cool things. So I always use a highlighter and I highlight the various notes and elements of these creatures or these combat scenarios that I want to make sure I remember and recall in the heat of battle. The next note I want to bring up is battlefields. First and foremost, not every game needs a battlefield. In fact, I kind of prefer RPGs that don't have a battle map with miniatures. It's a way to play. I prefer to keep things in my imagination, but that's generally more wieldy with smaller groups. If you have 3, maybe 4 players. Larger than that, it gets a little unwieldy. And with me running 6 to 8 players, it's become very necessary for everyone to keep track of their spatial awareness. When you create a map, things to consider: creative terrain. Think of where it's happening, but ways to make it different on occasion, too. You can have straightforward battles with just, here's an area where they fight, here's some hallways, here's some rooms, and that's cool, too. But, if you're in an urban setting, have furniture that they can use to their advantage, whether it be for height or for setting up blockades. Also, consider what other challenges and confrontations they might have with the terrain during the battlefield. Is there a giant chasm they have to get across to actually get to the villain while they're attacking them from a distance? Is there some sort of an arcane field that's locked off a portion of the battlefield and they have to figure out some sort of puzzle during the battle to lock it down? Is the villain invulnerable to all damage until they can find some sort of hidden aspect of their soul locked within the nearby battlefield? Or is there a bunch of innocents in there as well that are in danger of being killed from the collateral damage? find cool and unique ways to make it an interesting battle outside of just a slugfest of HP being knocked away and whoever falls first. Mind you, those can be fun too on occasion, but you want to make sure you keep things interesting. For those who want to create battlefields, what I use for my battlefields, because this question's come up a few times, you can use easel pad paper, 1-inch grid easel pad paper that you can find online, and that's a really cool way to just draw on that using markers and create your own battlefields that way. There are great tutorials online too that show you how to make cool battles and interesting looking terrain with just simple hatch mark shading and minor colors, so highly recommend that. Also, when you're using intelligent creatures, especially monsters or individuals or villains that are, understanding of their own mortality, they may flee. When they hit about a half or a quarter hit points, they may want to get the heck out of Dodge. So don't be afraid to let your villains or your enemies do that on occasion. One, it ups the stakes immediately in a battle from just a slogfest to, oh crap, he's getting away, and the dynamic shifts to try and prevent them from doing so. And secondly, if they do manage to get away, you may have a juicy villain who can recur later on down the story with a need for vengeance. Vengeance. And another cool note, not all battles are meant to be won either. Sometimes you want to introduce a really powerful enemy kind of as a foreshadowing aspect, a creature that they can in no way, shape, or form defeat, and they are meant to flee from so that they can build towards down the road, maybe coming back and finally killing it as a means of vengeance. Just make sure you try and insinuate to the players that they shouldn't stick around for the whole fight, or you might have a TPK on your hands, so be careful with that one. It's a fun tool, but be careful. No, seriously, be careful. Plus, it also leads into a cool story of like, man, remember that time we almost got killed by that thing? Not all fights are meant to end in bloodshed as well, so don't be afraid to let the players diplomatically resolve an encounter. Sometimes battles happen because of misunderstandings, or misinformation, or the wrong thing was said and it ticks somebody off. That doesn't mean they have to fight to the bitter end and murder whoever's in front of them. You don't want the whole murder hobo syndrome to be consistent. Unless that's the campaign you're running, in which case, fight on, my murder hobos. But, let the players use their social skills to try and diffuse an encounter before anyone gets killed. I've had many games where halfway through a battle, someone's like, wait, they may have information we need, or maybe we were duped, we have the wrong information, and they decide to, diplomatically end it. Doesn't always work, but it's nice to give them that option. So, I hope this has been helpful in you running your own games, both GMs new and old alike. Feel free to go ahead and check more videos from this series on geekandsundry.com, and thank you for watching.